Welcome to the Wired Educator Podcast, episode 257. Today's episode features my interview with Joe Sanfelippo and his new book, Lead from Who You Are. Joe is a nationally recognized speaker, educational leader, and is widely known for his inspiring keynotes and his 2-minute walk videos. It's been 122 episodes since Joe was last on the show, and I was thrilled to sit down and catch up with him. You are going to love this episode.
Welcome to the Wired Educator Podcast, where it's all about becoming a better educator now so you can make a greater impact and enjoy a higher quality lifestyle. And now, your host, Kelly Croy.
It was a great week to be a Wired educator. Our schools continue to be impacted by inclement weather and delays and cancellations, but educators and leaders are doing what they always do. They adjust and they adapt and they show up for kids. That's education in Ohio, and I know it's happening in other parts of the world as well. I would love to hear how your leaders, your educators handle calamity days, delays, weather disruptions. What special things do you do? Send your ideas to me at kelly@kellycroy.com. This week, I was invited to speak at an educational conference, which is one of my favorite things to do. I'm excited as my calendar starts to fill up a little bit with some end-of-the-year presentations, hopefully a few summer gatherings, and what I really love, opening day presentations with school districts. If you're interested in having me speak at your event, please reach out, kelly@kellycroy.com. I have a short questionnaire, and I'd love to connect. One of the greatest gifts of hosting the Wired Educator Podcast is the access it gives me to incredible educators and leaders from around the world. Like today, Joe Sanfelippo. I get to learn and grow and ask questions, not only for myself, but for my school district and for all of you. This week with Joe Sanfelippo, it was no different. I had the chance to spend time with Joe before and after the interview, and honestly, it felt a little bit like therapy. He shared insights, he challenged my thinking, and he helped me see a few things from a new perspective as I continue to grow my speaking and my writing work. One moment really stuck with me. Joe asked, "What happened to the short little videos that you were making?" Now, I had started creating some short little videos, kind of like Joe's 2-minute walk, and I was sharing them out on TikTok and Instagram and different places, and I love that they were captioned, and they were kind of fun to make. Joe bringing that up and encouraging me lit a fire underneath me. I remember an email I received not long ago from someone who wasn't even in education, didn't need a speaker for her event, and she just wanted to tell me that my little videos were a great start to her morning. Man, she had no idea what those words meant to me. Neither did Joe. It was great advice, and his encouragement, man, it really impacted me. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm committing to making those videos again and sharing them back out. Joe, thank you for that nudge. Joe is one of the most authentic leaders I've ever met. He's exactly who he says he is, and the world is better for it. You'd be doing a great thing by ordering his book or having him at your event. And I want you to know that there's a link in the show notes for a copy to Joe's website and to his book. But before we jump into the interview, I want to give a quick shout out to 3 educators in our school district who are really making a difference. Coach Eric Luthold, man, he is our head football coach, and he's a RIS at our high school. He's a great academic, and I love how he helps young men grow beyond the field. Second is Andrea Orshowski, one of the most beloved and excellent Spanish teachers I know. I love her classroom. It's so vibrant. It's so active. It's so immersive. There's no desks. There's constant movement, and students are absolutely love learning with her. And finally, Joe Miller. I interviewed Joe a couple episodes back. I wanted to mention Joe again because in the show notes, I'm still including a link to Joe's CL Symposium hosted at our district on March 20th. Joe organized it, he founded it, and he does great things. And now my interview with Joe Sanfelippo. Dr. Joe Sanfelippo recently retired after spending the last 26 years in the building and the final 12 as the superintendent of Fall Creek School District in Fall Creek, Wisconsin. The Fall Creek School District was named an innovative district by the International Center for Leadership in Education twice during that time. Joe holds a BA in elementary and early childhood literature and an MS in educational psychology, an MS in educational leadership, and a PhD in leadership learning and service. He was selected as one of 117 Future Ready Superintendents and one of 50 superintendents as a personalized learning leader by the U.S. Department of Education. Education Dive named Joe their National Superintendent of the Year 19. Joe started the 1 Minute Walk to Work Leadership Challenge and authored multiple books, including Lead from Who You Are, Lead from Where You Are, The 1 Minute Walk to Work, Crafting the Culture, Hacking Leadership, The Power of Branding, Telling Your School's Story, and Principal Professional Development, Leading and Learning in a Digital Age. It's my pleasure. It's my honor to introduce Joe Sanfelippo. Hey, Joe, welcome to the Wired Educator Podcast.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Kelly. I appreciate the time.
Hey, Joe, you probably don't remember, but it's been 122 episodes. I don't do math anymore. I just ask Chat GPT to figure things out for me. 122 episodes. You have been a lot of places. You've seen a lot of things, and you got a brand new book out, Lead from Who You Are. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I think the last time we did this, I was in a hotel room that night too. So it's
I think you're right. Yeah.
Makes sense. But this one, I feel like I got better lighting this time. Maybe that's it. It's got to figure it out.
We've probably learned a few things since then. Yeah. Well, I'm excited about the new book. You call it a prequel. You really emphasize the who, and I've got some questions on it, but I just would like to know how you found time in all your travels to write a book, and what you've included in here and why you thought it was necessary at this time.
Well, yes, it's so funny because I had no intention of writing again for a while, and I love the Lead from Where You Are book, and I think it speaks to people, and the response has been humbling to say the least. And I wasn't gonna write, but I had a friend of mine named Tom Sather, and he was writing a book for speech and language pathologists, and he asked me to write a chapter for him about leadership and how we could infuse it into that line of work. And I'm like, well, I don't know anything about speech and language pathology, and this is not a good idea at all. And he's like, no, just write it. Just write the chapter. It's going to be fine. So I started writing, and we started talking about, leading yourself, leading the room, leading the organization. And I kept coming back to that. That's just something that I probably should have said before we talked about leading from where you are, is leading from who you are and yourself and the people right in front of you, and then get to the organization. So as I was writing the chapter for him, it really kind of sparked some thoughts in my head. And I literally finished writing the chapter for him and just got right into it. And every second that I had over the course of, a couple months went to, kind of finding purpose in the writing. And it was really interesting to me because I do this all the time. And I always say that I'm not going to write. And then all of a sudden you just get on this run and go. All of the books, that the Hacking Leadership and Lead from Where You Are and the 1 Minute book, and all of it is just kind of like, it just hit me at one time, and I just kept going. And it just kind of wakes you up in the morning, and you kind of find purpose in that process. And I think when you know the audience is going to be able to lean into it and it's going to help them and make them laugh and smile and think and feel, then it brings you back the next day feeling better about it.
Right. Absolutely. I'm so glad it's out. I've just dipped into it today. And so I read the foreword, and I'm excited. I looked through the chapters. I think chapter 12 is the one that interests me the most. I want to dig in and lean on that a little bit. But
Sure.
It seems to me with the who part really requires a great deal of awareness. And that's a topic that I like to think about. I, of course, like everybody else on the planet, like to think of myself as someone who is aware. But how do we know? And what are some practices we can use to really gain insight, whether we are aware or not?
Well, I think one of the things that I keep coming back to in the book is the whole concept of this mirror test. Like when you think about it, when you're looking in the mirror, when people come to you, what kind of experience do you want them to have? And when they walk away from that experience, Do you believe that they walk away knowing and understanding who you are in that moment? So, what ends up happening with us as leaders a lot is that our reaction to people that come into our space is often a function of the environment that we're currently in. So, if things are going really well, the energy is high. And if things are not going well, the energy is low. And I can only speak for myself. That's kind of where I was at. So, when people would come to me, it was almost like they were bracing themselves. They're bracing themselves for, is he in a good mood? Is he not in a good mood? I know he's in a good mood because the Packers won. I know he's not in a good mood because the board members, are upset about stuff or whatever. So you may just want to avoid that piece, for a little while until you can kind of regulate. And so I think until I figured out that we all have these rhythms, and the rhythms when we're not aware, the rhythms go like this based on the environment. When the rhythms can go like this and they're more consistent in the process, then people don't brace themselves when they come to you because they get a consistent version of you every time they walk into your space. And when people have a more consistent version of you and they know what to expect, they're much more likely to ask you questions that they don't know the answer to, because they know you're going to respond in a certain way. You're not going to get upset about it. You're not going to be disappointed. You're not going to be like super excited with no follow through. Like, you just have to know where you're at. So we come back to the mirror test and knowing how people walk into, who do they experience when they walk to you. And when we know that, then we give ourselves a better chance. So that could be as easy as taking a breath before you go into a room. That could be as easy as, making sure that you start your day with in a certain sequence that allows you to see some of the great things that are going on. It could be, walking or running or exercising, whatever it is for you. Then just make sure that you figure out a way to repeat that pattern over and over again to give yourself the best chance.
Yeah, in the book, you really do emphasize consistency, and you even place it over charisma.
Right.
I sometimes believe I'm a high energy, charismatic guy. And I do work really
Right.
hard to be consistent. I find that to be one of the hardest things in everything: diet, exercise,
Yeah.
and leading. Consistency is hard.
I agree. So here's the thing though, Kelly, there's nothing wrong with charisma. It's engaging, but if it's the only thing you got,
Yeah.
then they're going to expose you at some point.
Yeah.
So you can be like, I try to be super high energy, but if I'm high energy with no follow through, then it just turns into a show and nobody wants that. So the charisma piece of it may actually get people to come towards you, but if they come towards you and the brand promise doesn't match the brand experience, then all of a sudden we got ourselves a problem. So, I think there's this whole construct that we kind of keep in mind about the consistent version of us in any scenario gives the people that we lead the best opportunity for success moving forward.
Yeah. I love that. You are a high energy guy.
Yeah. See, it can be the problem. And that's why we go back to the rhythms, because I was at my best when no matter what the environment was, I was still consistent. And the problem for me was I used to go from super high energy to no energy. Like, it wasn't even low. It was just like above and beyond. Let's go. Let's have a great time to like, I'm out. Right. And so when they don't know how to experience it, then even when you go from there to here or here to there, or however you want to say it, then it turns into, well, what did we do to him? Why did we do something? Why is he okay?
Yeah.
And they had nothing to do with it. It was my own rhythm was completely out of whack. And it happens, it happens more often than I cared to admit, even, well into my career, where the environment would take over. And you think about, if somebody's in a board meeting screaming about stuff, your energy is just a little bit different. If you're
Sure.
at a game and the game is intense and you got investment in it because you've been with the kids for however many years, like, there are things that I was doing it that I wasn't proud of them because the environment took me over, and it wasn't a good version of me. But I didn't realize it at the time. I just tried to keep going. I'm just hoping that people can realize it earlier in their career so they don't have to try to fix it in years, 20, 21, and 22.
Yeah. Educational leaders, that's all I know. This is my 35th year in education, and I learn something new every single day. But I just watch at how many challenges they encounter a day. I'd say maybe in an hour. I'll go say hello to a principal, and they've already had, in the morning, they've already had a full day of you name it.
Right.
And it's a lot. So I guess that kind of impacts that fluctuation of consistency because
Yeah.
you're taking a lot of swings.
Right, right. And so I think knowing that, it's just like, knowing yourself, knowing that that's going to be the case and not hiding behind it and just bracing yourself for it puts you in a better situation. So like I mentioned, what are you doing to start your day to at least put yourself in the right mindset? But if you start your day in a way that gives you control over certain things, all of a sudden, when the rest of the day takes over, at least you can walk out going, well, I feel good about this, this, and this before the day took me over. Because there are days that will if you come to school every day and the first thing that you do is open your email, then all you're doing is transferring somebody else's to-do list to yours.
Yeah.
And if that's the first thing that you do when you get there, then all of a sudden you may not pop your head out of the office until 3 o'clock. Like that's just what it is.
Yeah.
And there are going to be days like that. This whole construct of balance is really something that I think we have to figure out, that balance isn't like 50-50 on a daily basis. It's going to be 90-10 on some days, but then you got to make sure that it's 10-90 on other days. So you can at least can build some momentum, because otherwise you just can be burned out.
Yeah. You taught me that truthfully 122 episodes ago. I know it to be true because I keep a journal.
Oh,
And
cool.
I've been journaling now for 26, 27 years.
Wow.
And I take notes. Yeah, I reflect on things. And I was just starting out in my new position as administrator, and you had said those exact words: starting in your day with something you enjoy. And so I love greeting kids, and so
Yeah.
I try almost every day to be somewhere where I can greet kids. And I don't necessarily love bus duty in February, but I do love seeing the kids off on the bus. And so that's
Nobody
something I learned. Yeah. Now you said something that surprises me, and I don't know how much truth there is to it, but you said there's some things that, you've said or done that you're not proud of. I know you to be just a straight arrow kind of guy, but there is a part in your book, I can't remember how you word it, but like you talk about win back or go back to correct a situation or a relationship or something about that. And I personally think that's really important because we've all said something that was taken the wrong way or may have acted, but not everybody goes back and corrects it. And I'd like you to talk about that for a little bit, if you would.
Absolutely. So I think it happens more often than I care to admit. And I think sometimes the vulnerability of just walking in and saying, look, I screwed it up, and this is why I screwed it up, and I'm really sorry. And I understand that, the next couple weeks or a month, it's going to be pretty awkward with us. And I accept that because I'm the one that did it. But I'm just asking you to give me a chance to kind of continue to build back what we do. And like the conversation in the book actually references one of my former principals. He used to come in every day, and when I was in third grade. He would come in every day, and I would remember him. He'd come in, giving me a wave, give everybody a wave or whatever. And so he came in one day, and I just started. I wanted to be like a third grade kid and make people laugh. And his name was Mr. Bright. He passed away, but his name was Mr. Bright. And so he came in, and I told everybody to call him Not So, because Not So Bright's a super funny thing for third grade kids to say. It was not funny. So I got sent to the office. Parents called, the whole thing. And I spent time in the office. Like I was in the office a bit, but what I didn't realize was after that, I used to see him all the time. And he would talk to me all the time. And it wasn't like he was checking up on me. He was just saying hi, and he was just kind of hanging out by the table. And I didn't realize what he was doing until I started leading a school and knowing that he was just trying to build back a relationship that was, severed a little bit. And so I didn't realize that at all because I was just a kid at the time. But when I was walking through the school one summer, and I was back in my hometown, and I was walking through the school because it was open, and I got that feeling when I walked down towards the office, same feeling I got when I was in third grade. But as I was walking out, it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, oh my goodness, I know exactly what he was doing because I tried to do it and I didn't know he was doing it and he was doing it. And he was just trying to make it less awkward. So what I find myself doing is if I screw something up, I end up spending a little bit more time in those particular areas, not to address anything or talk to anybody, just to be seen. So then when you do have to have a different conversation, it doesn't feel awkward. Sometimes that's all we can do.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're so authentic, and I love that you're vulnerable that way and you're able to share that. I think vulnerability is a strength.
Yeah.
I really do. I think sometimes our world looks at it kind of weird, but I'm glad you shared that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think that if you're not, then you're going to have problems because you don't know, like as a school leader, one of the things I tell people when they start their jobs is like, you don't know everything and they know that you don't know everything. So when you pretend to know everything, all you're doing is putting yourself in a tough spot.
Yeah.
So when you can say, here's the thing about vulnerability. Vulnerability is a lot easier to address when the follow-up happens after. Like you can be vulnerable with your group and tell them that you're going to fix a problem. And then if you never fix the problem, the next time that you go in and tell and be vulnerable with them, people start to question
Right.
your ability to do the work. If you're vulnerable with them and you tell them, I screwed up, I just did, it's my fault, I shouldn't have done it. Here's what we're doing to fix it. Here's what I'm doing to fix it. We're going to reconnect here in a month and a half just to make sure that I'm on the same page. And if I'm not, I'm really asking you to tell me that I'm not because I made a mistake. So give me 6 weeks to put this thing back together and then let's reconvene. Or you can just stop by and let me know what you think. Because now, if I was just say, hey, I really screwed up, I'm really sorry. And okay, next. No, they're just going to wonder the next time you do it, you're going to, I'm really sorry I screwed up. Well, if you're always screwing up, they're going to start questioning whether or not you can do it.
Yeah.
But when you screw up, you're vulnerable that you screwed up. And then you go tell them how you're going to fix what you screwed up. Now, all of a sudden, things change a little bit.
I feel like I'm getting direct coaching from you. This is great. This is exactly what I need. Joe, I'm the kind of guy, and maybe you can help me here. And I always want to help people. I always want to help and support everyone. And I really do work at consistency, but we've missed some days of school and normally I show up at certain meetings at certain times and I kind of give everybody a little break now because they're trying to make up lost time. How do you help somebody who's in a leadership position who wants to support, but everybody's so busy, they're not always super excited to collaborate or, come on in, it's just, how can somebody like me find ways to collaborate with others and support the needs and challenges they face?
That's a really good question. I haven't thought about that. I think the idea is like you can't help people who don't want to be helped, but at the same time, you can help them. You can try to help them in a way that meets them where they are. Um, so sometimes I think one of the first things is always going to their space, because I think the biggest thing that people miss out on is, hey, let's collaborate. We're going to come to my office and do
Right.
that. And then that ends up being a real problem because it's never their spot. And so you want to make it as comfortable for them as possible. I would probably ask them the question first and say, I noticed that you were looking to get better in this area because you had mentioned that in whatever. And I'm more than willing to help you, but I also don't want to overwhelm you. So I'm going to be around in the next week, just in this area. Is there anything that I can bring to you? Or would you be okay if I sent you something? But you don't have to put the follow up. I just want to make sure that you have it in case. And then when you send the stuff, whatever it is that you send them, I would think about it. I'd probably go over it in my head and say, did it take me less than 2 minutes to read or act on? And if it took me more than 2 minutes to read or act on, then I'm not going to send it because they're not going to do it. And then you just get frustrated because you send stuff and then all of a sudden they don't do it. And then something else happens. And then you're like, well, if you would have read that, you would have known. But at the same time, like if you can get the turnaround within 2 minutes, they got that amount of time. So,
Sure.
and then just kind of, follow up after that. But I think there's that, again, it's about consistency though, Kelly. If it's the only time that you go there and ask them if they want help, and then all of a sudden, like the next time they see you is when you're there for help again or to help them, then they're not going to do it.
I get it. Yeah, it is helpful. I think sometimes teachers and leaders sometimes just want to be heard. It's
Yeah.
like they want people to know, I'm going to get this. It's really frustrating right now, but I'm going to get this.
Right.
Any stories you shared in the book that were maybe kind of hard to put down?
Yeah, I don't know about it's hard to put down. I know that like the things that I guess that they probably weren't hard to put down because I've lived them and
And you
everybody
talk about
knew,
them.
right? And everybody knew about them. So like if there were things in there that I'm like, how's the first time I've said this? This is gonna be a problem. But we've had a couple of scenarios that happened in school where I felt like I was being put in a position that almost set me up for failure. At the same time, I couldn't act on it. I couldn't reflect on the fact that that's the situation. I had to kind of be in the moment. And that was kind of one of those things where if I wasn't in the moment and I just brought in the baggage to how I got there, then I never would have been able to help people in the moment because I was so fixated on how I got there, why I was there
Yeah.
in that moment. But other than that, I think that the things that we talk about are things that they're pretty pedestrian in that like there's not a lot of, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to you kind of thing. But what you'll find is the vast majority of things. I tried to put stories in that were very common in that they they happen to everybody all the time. If you're in a big school, if you're in a small school, if you're in a rural school, if you're in an urban school, like these things happen to leaders all the time. And if we can regulate ourselves a little bit better, then it changes the way that we operate.
All right, awesome. Who's this book for, and what do you hope they get out of it?
This book is for anybody who wants to find a way to wake up with purpose and really lean into their day before their day takes them over. That's really about it. Like, if you want to make sure that you can control what you can control, and if you want to make sure that you can, lean into everybody that comes into your space. And so when they come into your space, that there's a consistency that they leave with and develop credibility, then this will give you some tools to do that.
Joe, you're always so willing to help others. I think, I'm so glad you said yes. I know we have to say no to some things, but
Yeah.
you always say yes to me, and I'm thankful for that. And you've helped our school district and neighboring school districts. You travel all over the country, maybe even the world. I'm curious, what do you learn from the audiences that you speak to? I just imagine that, all those people you meet every day is probably like another classroom that you're in learning too.
Yeah. I think I learned that everybody's going through the same stuff. Like it doesn't matter if you're in Ohio or if you're
It's not
in,
just me.
yeah, right. It's the same thing. And the way that we react to it is often the experience that we've had leading up to that spot. So I think we talk a lot about the idea that every interaction that you have sets you up for the next interaction that happens or their reaction to the next interaction. So the more social capital that we can build along the way, I think we give ourselves a better chance. But everybody's going through a ton. And I think when I'm with groups, I'm at my best when I get myself to neutral and understand that the people out there have no idea who I am. They have no idea if I know what I'm talking about. They have no idea if what I'm going to say is going to help them at all. And if I know that going into it, then I treat that audience in a way that makes me hope to prove to them that they're already doing really, really great work. And I'm not asking them to do anything more or build anything new. I'm asking them to recognize the greatness that's already happening around them. And if they can build something from there, it feels like it's going to take off because we get this whole idea of it being manageable, meaningful, and magnetic. Manageable on your worst day, meaningful to who you are as a person, magnetic to something that you've already done. So it doesn't feel like it's a huge lift every time. If I forget that and I talk about all the things that we did in Fall Creek and it was, it's 13 years of data in a 60-minute conversation, that hits a little bit too hard because they start to think, oh my gosh, there's no way we could do all that stuff. They can do, any of it. Any of the things that we talk about is going to make the momentum go in the right way. So just knowing that if they don't see themselves in any of these stories, then it just turns into the one time the bald guy from Wisconsin told the jokes. And that's not helping anybody. In the moment it might be fun, but
Yeah.
it doesn't make anybody better.
Well, you do make everybody better. You are funny. I won't comment on your hair. I'll leave that. But you fit you have such high energy, such high octane. It's like 3 hours of presentations into one.
Well,
It's the pace is actually incredible. It's it's
thank you.
it's it's wonderful, and I've learned something every time that I've seen you speak.
Oh,
You know, just to wrap up, we live in you talked about self-regulation and things, and we live in a society where whether we want to or not, there's so much comparison on social media and things. Even myself, like I want to be a speaker. Man, I can't be a Joe Sanfelippo or a Jimmy Casas or things like that. But you see that and you have that kind of desire. I'm the father of 4 girls, and I know the heaviness of social media on them to look a certain way or do a certain thing. Any advice to all of us looking at social media and trying to compare our chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 15, 16? What do you think?
I think you nailed it. Like if you don't know where you're at in the book, and then you start to compare, you
Yeah,
put yourself in a really tough situation. And it happens. I'm telling you, Kelly, it happens to me too. Like
really.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think because I'm relatively competitive. At the same time, I'm also a realist. I think the thing about where we're at right now in terms of the events that we're trying to get out there is it was all built on just doing what I love for so long, and it just became organic. And
Mhm.
so I know that it was built from the right place. And so
Yes.
just knowing that makes me feel good about we're going to run it out as long as we can. So I think the comparison pieces that people take on, it goes back to the balance, but go back to like the rhythm part when you feel really good about something, and then the next day you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't get any calls to go speak anywhere, and then the next day
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, I got a call, all of a sudden things are great. It's the same thing. So we try to
Yeah.
keep it regulated. And in my first couple years, if I got asked for a proposal or something to speak somewhere and I didn't get that, I mean, that would have just been like, what in the world is happening? And who did they pick? And oh my gosh, why didn't they?
Oh,
And I got to myself and I'm just like, I'm not for everybody. And that's
yeah.
okay that I'm not for everybody. But I know what the message is, and I'm not going to change it all too much because I know that it works and I know that it's coming from the right place. And I know that people have made gains because of it. And so I just try to stick pretty close to the vest and understand that it's a different scenario because when I was speaking and being a superintendent, I always could go back to school and know that what we were doing had purpose and knowing that what we were doing was moving the needle because we had a team of people that I could rely on to go talk about it all the time. This is different. This is different because I don't know and I'm not there. And I think if my one time in front of them is a catalyst for a conversation with their team, then I feel really, really good about that. But I don't always know. And so people will tell me, hey, you probably hear this all the time, and I like, no, I don't. I want you to tell me because I need to make sure that there's a way to keep it
Right.
going.
Yeah.
So the comparison piece for me, I would just tell you that it's not wrong because I did it too.
Yeah.
It's just when the message is coming from the right place, I just truly believe that it'll grow and the opportunities will be right out in front of you.
Yeah, I like that. Ties into your book perfectly about who you are. I was speaking to a young teacher. He's comparing himself to the teacher to the right and left of him. And I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
you're not the bulletin board guy.
Right.
you
Right.
you got your own thing going. That's
Yeah.
great. Well,
Well, it happens
you
all the
don't.
time. It happens in schools all the time.
Yeah,
Then the problem with it in schools that I see is when it's not even social media. It's the person across the hall. And if
yeah,
you don't think that you're doing the same stuff there,
yeah,
or conversely, the other side is true too. When you're doing really great stuff, but you don't want to talk about that great stuff because the person across the hall is going to be like, Don't tell anybody about that because if you do that, then I'm going to have to do that. I don't want to do that." So
yeah,
then all these great ideas die at the door
yeah.
because they want to conform to the people in the group. And that crushes me because we haven't created the environment where people can continue to celebrate the diversity that they bring to the classroom,
Right.
and that's got to change.
Yeah. That's one of the great things about my job is I have so many opportunities to celebrate other people,
Good.
and I do. I'm so glad you mentioned the speaking scenario because that actually happened to me this week.
Yeah.
And man, my head's been hanging low this week. So you lifted me up a little bit.
Man, it happens to everybody. I mean, it was like when I first started, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna
Yeah,
find
I
where
can't wait to see.
the conference is, and I'm gonna just check to see how it goes. And I'm like, come on, man. But every time I do that, I'm taking away from building something for the people who have trusted me with their
Right.
group. So that is a disservice to the people who ask you to come in to be fixated on the people who don't.
Yeah. Well
It's like
said.
the whole, it's that whole mindset of you're not going to be everybody's favorite, but the more time you spend thinking about not being everybody's favorite, you don't concentrate on being somebody's favorite.
Yeah. Hey, that's making the journal. Thank you. I'm
Yeah,
gonna use that. Yeah.
do it.
Very good. Hey, let's give you your night back and wrap up
All
here.
right.
I want to give you a closing message to
Okay.
teachers and leaders right now. And then I just want to end with a couple fun, get to know you, quick response questions. So you got an opportunity here to talk to the listeners of the Wired Educator podcast. It's cold, man. It's cold in February. What message do we need to hear, Joe?
Well, I think the irony is I put something out today that, we're at that point in the year where it's dark when you get to school, it's dark when you go home, it's cold, and you start to feel isolated in this time. And I think the thing that we need to understand is in those times, it is so important to find your people. You don't need to be with 10 people or 12 people or 15. Maybe it's one, and you
Right.
don't need to go next door and talk about, like the meaning of life and how you got here and the whole thing. Sometimes just being in people's spaces is all you really need to connect and, make those moments move at times where they're not. If you are a leader at this time in a building, it's a really important time to make sure that you spend more time connecting people because this gets to be a super isolating time of the year. You're between breaks. Again, it's super dark, it's super cold in the north. So, everything that you can do to connect your people to them, not to you, but to them, is going to make things a lot easier for you.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe. And those are wise words, and
Nice.
I'm gonna put them to use. All right, just a couple fun questions to wrap up. What's something, a practice, or really anything in your life right now that's working for you? You're like, man, I'm glad I do this. I'm glad I have this. What's something that works for Joe Sanfelippo?
The thing that I've been doing often, I walk a lot now, and have loved it because it just gets me out. And it's tougher, obviously, in the cold. But when I'm in Charleston, it's easy to jump out of bed and go and walk and get 10,000 steps in before 8 o'clock, which is really nice. And it just kind of sets my day up in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. And I don't even listen to anything or do. I just literally just walk. I think that's it. I
Cool.
think maybe have a conversation along the way if you get a chance to make a connection with somebody. But other than that, you're just trying
Great.
to you're trying to
Pretty
be
simple.
with you. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
a lot of greats were into walking. Steve Jobs, Gandhi, a lot of them like that.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Stephen King too. Yeah, yeah. You've hit on something here. All right.
Yeah. No, see, I don't know if I've hit on it. I've just created something that worked. I should probably read more. I would have known that. I probably could
Yeah.
have done it earlier.
Hey, I don't know if you heard of this thing called AI, but quick thought on it, and do you use it? And if so, what's working there for you?
I I think that the idea that we're just going to shut it down and not use it is almost irresponsible at this
Yeah.
point because it doesn't level the playing field if you're just going to stand by your laurels and say, well, I just should know that. Well, there's a lot of stuff that I should know that I don't. I think that I've used it everywhere from find me the best taco place close to Detroit's airport to taking a part of the book that I wrote and throwing it in there and say, what am I missing for school leaders? What pieces are not working? What did not come out clear? So I think there's a lot of advantages to making sure that it's embedded into what you do, as long as it doesn't become y- become your only it's your only thing. Like, I'm going to do it for everything. If you
Right.
lose your train of thought, mm, ends up being the problem. But it is a supplemental tool that I think is, first of all, it's here to stay, and there's nothing you can do about that. But I think it's very, very applicable to everything that we do. And I think it could give us some time back. The problem is if it gives you time back and then you spend that time just scrolling and doing nothing else, it's not, you're not finding any advantage to the process at all.
Awesome. Well said. Thank you. Last one.
Yeah.
You got to nail this one because you travel everywhere. Best travel hack.
Oh, that's a really good one. Best travel hack. I would say the best travel hack. That's a really good one. I would say
Probably have a dozen.
I don't even know because I think the thing that I've noticed is if the best travel hack I would say is bring your food.
Yeah.
Like bring something, because if you're sitting in an airport for a while, and I know that and I'll just start buying stuff and eating it, and not because I'm hungry, but because I'm bored. And that's where I get myself into trouble. So if I bring something, at least I know if I'm going to get bored, I'm going to get bored eating some figs or something like that, or mangoes or something, as opposed to like
$12 potato chips.
Snickers bar for $27 and trying to figure it out. But I would say that that's probably the best travel hack that I have right now.
Well, that's funny you say that because I think the last time I saw you were on an elevator with two armfuls of snacks from the down in Columbus
situation. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's funny.
Joe, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy life to be on the Wired Educator podcast. You are a great speaker. You are a great leader. You're a great writer. And I think one of my favorite things is you're a great friend to everybody. I love online to see you goof around with Jimmy Casas and Tom and all the others. You make everybody feel like they're in your circle. And that's truly a gift. And I admire that. I think if more people operated that way, we'd all be whistling to work. It would be great. So congratulations on your book. It's in the show notes. Click it, buy one for your friend. And Joe, it was great to have you on the Wired Educator podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Wired Educator podcast at www.wirededucator.com.